you. Thank you for being our guest speaker, and we'll let you get started.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see so many faces. I've been cooped up in my house for months now, so I'm like, oh, there's people out there. It's kind of a nice reminder. I'm going to talk to you guys today about capturing project data from the technical team and the kind of the process that I created around that in our office and the methodology I used to create that process. So just a little background on me. I'm a marketing database coordinator for KPFF in the Portland Structural Engineering office. So I work out of Portland, Oregon. I have a little over 6 years of experience in database strategy and implementation. And about 1.5 years of that is in the AEC industry. I've kind of traveled through different industries just doing database strategy. I was actually hired on at KPFF 1.5 years ago to oversee our office's migration to CoCentral. And on that, I work closely on a daily basis with the technical team and the marketing team to determine best practices for gathering, storing, and maintaining our marketing and accounting data. So just trying to create a connection between the technical team and everything they're doing, the accounting team and the marketing team to make sure that we're all sharing the data and we're not duplicating efforts. So these are the questions I asked myself when determining the process. Just to give you guys a little background, when I started at KPFF, we didn't really have a set process. I'm sure a lot of firms operate this way, especially smaller offices. It was more of a reactive approach to gathering project data. So, oh, we need an SF 330 Section F for this project, or we want to use this project on a pursuit. We need to contact the project manager and get all this information as soon as possible. And God forbid that project manager is out on vacation or can't respond by the end of the day or whenever you need that information. So right away, I was like, oh, there's an opportunity here to create some type of process that we can be more proactive with gathering this data so that we have it at our fingertips when we need it. We'll be more quick to respond to our clients. As a structural engineer, we're most often sub-consultants. So we're working for architects, and we want to make sure that we're responding as quickly as possible with the most accurate information as possible. So that was a big motivation behind this. So when determining this at the outset, I was thinking about what information do I need? And when I say that, I mean what information I need from the technical team. How will I get that information? And then when am I going to get that information? So to start us out, what information is needed? So what I like to do is review the project record in whatever database that you use, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet or that's a CoCentral or Deltek. I like to review the record and highlight any fields that you will need from the technical team. So I'm a little old school. I like to print it out, take a highlighter, and just literally go through field by field and highlight anything that I know that I absolutely need from the technical team. And when I say need, I mean absolutely necessary. So if I can Google it and find it myself, I'd much rather do that because the more things I ask them for, in my experience, the less likely they are to respond to me and give me any information at all. So I like to try to do as much of the back-end work as possible and then ask them for what I can't find anywhere else or what I know that I won't be able to find anywhere else. Another nice thing is a structural engineer, it kind of depends on what practice you're in. For us, we have a lot of smaller projects, so I'm not going to use this process for every single project. A lot of those projects we're never going to look at again. We're never going to use in a pursuit. So I don't want to waste my time or waste our engineers' time gathering project information for a project we're never going to use. So before I send any requests to the team, I always make sure that this is a project that we're likely to use and that I'm utilizing all of our time and being efficient. And then determining, I put a list here of all the fields that we came up with that we absolutely needed from the technical team. This is so specific to your firm. So there's no way that this would possibly be like a copy and paste situation, but I did want to share it just in case it was helpful for you. These are all the things, these are all the fields in our CoCentral project records that we decided that we absolutely needed to gather from them or have them confirm. The next question I asked is, how will the information be gathered? So the first thing I like to look at is, how is the information currently gathered? So even if that's not necessarily a process, even just when you are gathering information for a proposal and you need information from a project manager, are you emailing them? Are you walking over to their desk? Do you have some type of Google form that you use to send to them? There's obviously a multitude of ways that we could be gathering this information. So once you see some type of pattern there, you want to ask yourself then, obviously, is it working? Is this something that we can turn into a process? If they're never responding to you, if they're never at their desk, I would say that's probably not the best method. Let's think of a method that is more likely to actually get the response and get the information that you need. This next bullet point, I heard this at the CoCentral User Conference in 2019, and it changed my life, specifically in the AEC realm. I find that it is really difficult to get responses. I've never experienced anything like it before in any other industry I've worked in. So the best advice I got is meeting the technical team where they already are. So I know for me personally, I love to innovate. I love to bring in new strategies for collecting data. I love to bring in a new piece of software that's going to make everything so efficient. It's going to connect everything for everybody. But I think a lot of times, especially in my experience with engineers, that can be a little overwhelming and make less likely for them to adopt this new process. So it was kind of difficult for me when creating our process, but I really thought about what is a system that our engineers are already in every day that I could just share that with them, share that experience with them. So I'm not asking them to do anything new. I'm not asking them to click a link that takes them into a web browser or anything. And for us, that happened to be emails. So all of our information requests to our engineers are in a body of an email. So they can just click reply, fill that out, and send it back to us. And then also just remember that as this process is implemented, as any process is implemented, as you all are, I'm sure, aware, things are going to change based on usability and feedback from the technical team. I know for me personally, it can be a little difficult when I put like my heart and soul into creating a process that I am so sure is the most efficient way to get this information. And then within the first month of rolling it out, I get feedback from a project manager that this is not working, or this is silly, or why would you ask this at this time? This doesn't make sense. So just taking all of that and then changing the process as it sees fit, because the more feedback, in my experience, that we take from the technical team and then we implement that into our process, the more likely that they are to get on board. If we're all sharing this, building this process together, all of us are going to be on board. We want them to have some buy-in as well, so they actually respond to the emails or click the form and fill it out. And here's just examples of what we came up with. So like I said, all of our project information is requested through Outlook in bodies of emails. So these are just two examples. So a project number request is an Outlook template. So the engineers just click this and then fill this template out. If any of these fields are value lists in our accounting database, then it's a drop-down menu with those value lists. And I'll give these slides to Courtney as well, so you guys can have access to these. And then our project information requests, same thing. These are actually workflows that I created in CoCentral. They're all automatically generated. And it has all of our value lists here, and it's all in the body of an email. So we just send it to the project manager, and all we're asking of them, click reply, highlight things, fill out information where it's missing, confirm information where it exists, all within Outlook. And then finally, when will the information be gathered? When I say this, I don't mean what time of day, obviously, or what day of the week. I'm talking about when in the project timeline we're going to ask them for this information. And this is another thing that is so specific to what industry you're in, depending on at what point in the project your firm is involved, and at what point with your technical team they'll have all this information. So I like to say I determine the most efficient touch points being times that I'm reaching out to the technical team and asking for information. I really strongly suggest that you consider how this process can be automated. As a database marketer, I know that looking through spreadsheets and checking a spreadsheet every month and then emailing manually is just so time consuming, and it can so easily fall to the wayside. And it's really, really quick to be the first thing that's dropped when you have pursuits and other things that are more like that are more needed for your time. So some of these are obviously be very specific to your office, but here's just some ideas of how I thought that a process can be automated, some triggers that can happen in a project that can cause you or an email to automatically be sent to the technical team when a project number is created, when a project is first billed, when a project is 50% complete or 75% complete, or however that would be helpful for your team, or when a project is closed. So those are all things, triggers that can happen in your database that can automatically prompt you or your technical team to provide information. And then finally on this front, just talk with your technical team to determine when the selected information will be readily available. So for me, that involved talking to project managers. Once again, we're in structural engineering. So when we first create the project number, we are likely in concept study or concept design. We're not necessarily going to have an estimated structural or an estimated construction cost at that point. We might not even know what materials we're using at that point. So we're not going to have any estimates around that. So I'm not going to ask them that question when I'm reaching out at that time, because I don't want to inundate them with requests they're not going to be able to answer. I want to ask them the least amount of information as possible every time that I talk to them, so that they're more likely to answer. I also want to make it clear that I'm taking into account their feedback, and I'm only asking them for things that I know that they'll be able to provide. And it builds, I think, some credibility with our marketing team and the way that we're requesting the information, and the technical team. So in regard to our overall process, this is what it looks like. So we have 3 touch points with our technical team. Those are the project number request, the project first build, and the project closed. So the project number request form, you guys saw that when I had it up a couple slides ago. That is actually an Outlook template, and the technical team is able to access it on our intranet. They go to our intranet, which they already have templates there that they access on a regular basis anyways. I put it in a spot that was very easy for them to go to, that they already know how to navigate to. They click it, it opens up an email that is already addressed to our team, and it has the form. All they have to do is fill it out, press send. That form then comes to the marketing team. We review it, we make sure everything looks good to go. As far as project name, it's looking how we want it to, in a very clean way. We have naming conventions for everything. There's no misspellings, anything like that. And then we forward that to the accounting team. The accounting team then enters all of that information into our accounting software and issues a project number. They reply all, so we can all see that there's a project number now issued for this project. And then the next time, and then the project goes off into the universe, starts getting worked on, everything, we're not really involved in it. And the next time that the marketing team will see this project will be when the project is first billed. So this is an automatic trigger that happens. We have a backend connection between our accounting system and our marketing database that allows us to create workflows around triggers that happen in the accounting database. So the way that we have it set up right now, when a project is billed for the first time, the record is actually automatically created in our marketing database, and an email is automatically generated requesting further information from the technical team. And then the final step is the project closed. So when a project is closed in our accounting system, once again, this is all automatically prompted in the back end, and an email is automatically generated and sent to the project manager. And at this point, we're collecting any information we would possibly need for a pursuit, for using this project in a pursuit. I like to think using it in SF 330 per F, because that tends to be the most rigorous amount of information that we're going to need on a project. So I make sure that we have all those fields populated, and anything that we don't have, and make sure that we're getting that information from the technical team. And I'm happy to share if you guys have further questions about exactly what our forms look like, stuff like that. I'm happy to share any of that stuff too. I didn't necessarily want to drop them all in as images on here because they're kind of vast, but I'm happy to share that. So just in summary real quick, kind of the 3 steps. Determine what information is needed. And once again on this, I just urge you to focus on the projects that you will most likely need. The last thing you want to do is inundate the technical team with emails requesting information. They're just going to mute you out. They're just going to stop responding, which is what was happening with our kind of the system that was in place years ago before I came to KPFF. Was just this: anytime a project was created, regardless of the size, it could be a $500 fee for a stare review, the same email would be sent to the engineers. So over time, they just started muting out the emails because it's not useful to them and it's not useful for us either. And then determining how the information will be gathered. So my biggest tip on this is meeting the engineers where they already are. That word of advice in many of the processes that I've created, outside of this one as well, has really paid off with the efficiency of our team and also the credibility that we get from that we get to provide the services that we are as a support to our technical team. And then determining when the information will be gathered. So when in the project cycle are you reaching out to the project team? Once again, I would suggest the least amount of touch points as possible, so you're not constantly bugging them and asking them for information, but you're still getting all the information that you need. That's what I have.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Katie. I love that you narrowed it down to 3 simple steps. I was working on the blog, taking notes as you were going. Thank you for also agreeing to share your slides. I appreciate that. I'll get it up.
Of course.
Recap. So just to let everybody know, the chat is open. So if you're in a place that you can't really unmute, then feel free to drop your question in the chat and I will read it for you. And if you are in a place to unmute yourself, feel free to ask questions now and or let us know other tips that you might have discovered along the way of your data collection process.
Yeah, that's the thing I love about these user groups and anything of that sort is all the stuff that I mean, I'm constantly updating and changing our processes based on things that I hear in calls and tips and tricks that I hear from other marketers that are just little things that can make our process a little bit more efficient.
We've got a question from Stacy. Hey there, Stacy. How do you get the choice list in your Outlook template? That's brilliant.
Oh yeah, so it's actually like a back-end trick because you can't create a value list when you're creating an Outlook template in Outlook. So what I do is I actually create out the template or create the body of the template in Microsoft Word, and you can add value lists in Word and drop downs. I think it's called maybe like the buttons tab. I'd have to look on there and see exactly. And then I just copy it and paste it into the template. And that's how you can add value lists. You can add multi-select. There's a lot of options.
That is genius. I also know that the Flow or Azul or Automate, whatever Microsoft is calling it at the moment, their Automate feature is pretty user-friendly as far as being able to plug and play and create processes that way. So we've got clients that are using it to kind of automate as well if your CRM doesn't have out-of-the-box automation features and you are using Outlook.
Yeah, I've actually been looking into Microsoft Flow because sometimes the workflow in like CoCentral, for example, there's not a lot of capabilities when building the template, like the email. So maybe like creating a workflow that then triggers a workflow in Microsoft Flow. It's like workflow inception, but that creates the best possible way to like make it as easy as possible for the engineers to be able to select from a list rather than typing in an answer.
Absolutely. I love that.
I finally got my kids to go away. It's brilliant. Actually, I use like signatures. So I have a table in my signature, and if someone wants a new budget open, I just reply and I use the signature block, new budget request, and it pops a table in there. But I would love to have that table have drop-down lists. So I now have some work to do.
Oh, fun. I like the idea of using signatures for that, though. That's a quick way to access something.
Oh, for sure. All right, so the other question that we've got is, what type of form do you use that's on your intranet? Is it created from the back end, or is it just Word?
It is an Outlook template, so it's an OTF file. And actually, I can just show you guys right here. Let's see. Okay.
Once you've got it pulled up, you'll need to reshare because you only shared the presentation.
Okay, let's see. Hopefully I can you guys see what I'm doing right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So it looks just like this. I have it on my desktop. Don't mind my goats in a tree. They make me very happy on a day-to-day basis. I just have it on my desktop because I use it a lot too. We use it a lot in marketing. So you just double click it and it opens up here. It looks just like this. So these forms come to us. So we have it already addressed to our team, our marketing team. And then the subject, obviously, and then they just go through here. They enter in all this information. So the service type, a lot of this is going to be hand entered, but they could choose their principal, market sector. These are SF330 profile codes. Funding source. So a lot of it, anything that can be a value list, we have a drop-down menu for. And we implemented this. It was definitely a phased approach to implementing the system. And what we started with was the project number request form. So I think we started that was like a couple months after I started at CKearney. So we've had that for over a year now. And that took really well. That was very easy, which indicated that Outlook was definitely going to be the best way to communicate with our team because they were so quick to utilize the project number request form. And it made a world of difference. Because before that, I mean, for our accounting team too, because before that, our accounting team was just getting calls from people saying, can you start a project number request for this? Here's the name. They'd have to jot down the note and then create the project number. So creating a system for that just made it much more efficient for everybody. And then there's also email. There's a paper trail for everything that happened.
So the data control freak in me wants to know, how do you keep the value list the same? Because I'm assuming that if you change a value list, now you have two places to change it.
Yep, and that's exactly what I do. I change it in both places.
Okay.
So whenever I have to change a value list, actually there's 3 places I have to change it in. So I change it in our project number request template. I change it obviously in our database, and then I also change it in the workflow that I have, because that information will also be in the workflow within CoSential. So whenever I change a value list, I have 3 spots that it needs to change.
Awesome. So we've got another question. Did you talk about opportunity conversion to projects or linking an opportunity source once a project is created?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm actually working on that right now. So that's my big project for 2020. Before this year has just been insane for all of us, I think, especially for me, because I was just telling Courtney that I'm expecting a new baby girl in 2 weeks. So I'm going to be out on maternity leave for 12 weeks after that. So our opportunities implementation got pushed out a little bit because of life. But I am planning, I've been working with CoSential, I am planning on using these back-end connections that I use for our other prompts to also create an opportunity record and then convert that opportunity record to a project record when the project has first been billed. So right now, how it works is we don't actually see a project record in CoSential until the project has been billed in our accounting system. How I want it to work is when a project number is created in our accounting system, that information or that record comes over as an opportunity. Because in our office, we actually take out project numbers. We create project numbers for opportunities. We create project numbers for pursuits, and we track bid and proposal time that way. So that's how we would, so when a project number is first created, it then automatically creates an opportunity record. And then when that project is first billed, that opportunity automatically it gets turned into a project record, and the opportunity is closed.
So I've got two things. I don't mean to be hogging the question.
It's okay.
The first one is, did you see that they released a workflow based on Convert now? So
No.
you push things based on an opportunity to project convert in CoCentral. So check out that workflow. It popped up, and someone at CoCentral slacked me and was like, hey, did you see? I was like, ugh, y'all sneak stuff in and don't tell us.
And I didn't see anything about that.
Yeah. And then the other one was, oh, I'm going to lose it. Oh, I wanted to know who else on the call bills or tracks time for your pursuits, because I feel like that's something that our industry on the marketing side has wanted for a long time, but I haven't seen it done very often. So I'm assuming that if you pull or create a project number for your pursuits, that marketing is also using those numbers to charge their time.
Yeah.
Who else on the call? Feel free to unmute, raise your hand if you are sharing your video. It looks like Jen with Micon shares her tracks. Whoever's on their iPhone says, yes, we do, but our accounting is not linked to our CRM. Ellen from Micon says yes too. Anybody want to unmute and share if they do or don't?
I'll unmute. This is Stacy again. We do just the opposite of what you were saying, Katie. So when we convert from a lead to identified, we have a preliminary go, no go stage that has to be done to make that conversion. And then we push from CRM to the time card system. So we actually do the reverse of what you're looking to do.
Oh, yeah.
So at that point, we trigger the, in CRM, we trigger the budget to be opened in the finance.
That makes sense. Yeah, because it doesn't really need to be technically in our accounting. Like if the project isn't won, there's no reason for it to live in the accounting system.
So I wanted to share from the chats. Megan says we do through a general marketing billing code. Betsy, we do not. Allison says we track time for each pursuit, but there's no project number until it becomes a project. Hopefully I didn't skip anyone.
I have a question follow up to that opportunity source. So if I see how your process works, that you would work from what happens with the stuff that you are tracking? So if it goes from the opportunity, then to close one, and then to the accounting system, the accounting system pushes through a new project, and then I want to link the opportunity, the original opportunity, to the project. It looks like all I have the option to do is to convert it and create a new project. Is there a way to link? Courtney, do you know that?
Yes. Yeah, stay on so we can kind of vet that out a little bit more.
Okay.
My brain is functioning through that question.
Yeah, that'll be helpful for me too, actually, that question, because once again, I've started the process of implementing this in our office, but with the opportunities, I don't have an actual process implemented yet. So this will be, once again, when I get back in October, I'm going to hit the ground running with this project and try to get it done by the end of the year. So,
well, maybe we can have you back on in January and you can tell us about it.
Yeah, hopefully, if it's successful.
Even if it's not, man, we can learn from what
That's
you
true.
didn't do.
Yeah.
That's true.
Or why you ended up not doing it.
We do something a little, I guess, kind of weird with our system, but we do track the pursuit in the accounting software, and then we keep the opportunity open in CoCentral. And then the project number also gets pushed into CoCentral, but it just sits there until it's billable. So, and then we have this other SharePoint that's pulling all this information, and so then they can keep track of the opportunity hours and everybody that's charging. And then when it does become an actual project, then they'll close the opportunity and all the project hours will go to that. It's a little funky on how we do it, but it works. I did have another question on, and you might have said something on it, but you were talking about the automated emails are not really bothering the PMs too much on the lower projects, like the $500 stair review and whatnot. How do you determine which ones go to them? Like, are they all automated and then you just pick them, or?
So they're all automated, and the email automatically actually comes to me. So this goes back to me being a data control freak, like what you said earlier. So they automatically come to me, and then I review it and see. I'm like, oh, I would say 80% of the projects that come through, I'm just archiving it and saying, oh, we don't need to track that. And then 20% of them we're focusing on. So if it is something we want to focus on, I then just send that email out to the engineer. And I think that actually works better too, because in CoCentral, if an email is automatically generated, it has to be from no reply at CoCentral. So then I am asking the engineer to forward this to me once they get this information. From a credibility standpoint, just knowing our people, having it come from somebody in the marketing team tends to get more of a response. If it comes from a no reply, they tend to just like file it away and never look at it again. And that's kind of what happened with our old system when something like this was was implemented. So it all comes through me. I then forward it over to them. That also then gives me an opportunity just to make sure that sometimes like there's a misspelling or something. So I have an opportunity just to double check everything. Once again, for credibility reasons, I don't want to send them something that says like Potland instead of Portland. Doesn't make us look great. Like our data is not correct. Why would they be spending the time giving us that information?
I do wish there was a way for us to change who it was coming from, so it's not obvious that it's from a CRM system.
Yeah, because that was kind of the determining factor. So when I first started this, obviously I would love it just to be all automated from the get-go. And I was like, oh, we could do it based on fee. And there's a couple other little things like, oh, there's a couple ways that we track, like if a project is pretty much worth tracking, like marketing preferred or other fields that CoCentral has to offer. But then when I found out that there's no other option than having it come from no reply, I'm just like, oh, I just don't see that working for our team. So maybe one day if they're able to change that, I think I actually put in an enhancement request. I'm sure they hate me at this point because I probably put in about one a week. Then I'll be able to change that and make it more automated. But for now, I just spend probably, I would say maybe an hour a week reviewing those and determining which ones I want to send out.
The other way I've helped clients do it is they automate it to themselves and then hit forward. And so it's a extra step, but
that's what I do right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions for Katie? Feel free to unmute or drop it in the chat.
Actually, on that real quick, I can show you guys what it looks like when a project first build comes through.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll tell you how or show you how I determine. So sorry, you're going to see my whole life here for a second. I didn't have something prepared, but so when a project is first built, it comes through just like this. So this is what I get. So CoCentral workflow system, no reply. And then I have a link at the top, and this actually takes me directly to the project record. And then I have the staff team, so I can immediately see if I am going to be forwarding this, who am I going to be forwarding it to? And then this is, so once I determine if I do want to get more information on this, I just click forward and I just select all of this and delete it. and here's I delete this here, and then here's my email ready to go. And I just send in, okay, I always give a due date, because if you don't give a due date, you just never get it back, as I'm sure you're all aware. And I just forward this on. I enter the project manager's name. Unfortunately, you can't get a project manager name. There's no, that's not an option for, I can't remember what term they use, but entering it in automatically through the workflow in CoSential. But a lot of this is, so the first thing I look at is this estimated structural fee. And if it's higher, then I'll automatically know, I'm definitely going to gather information for this because it's a bigger project. I'm sure we're going to be using this. And all of this stuff these are all our value lists. So I just asked them to highlight. This is where it comes in, where I had the idea of using Microsoft Flow. I've been working on it because I can't use the drop-down option in the workflows on CoSential because you have to copy and paste it into the body in CoSential, and it doesn't let you do the copy and paste from Word trick that I do on our other one. So I'd have to create like a workflow within a workflow, which sounds time consuming because I think it probably is, and I haven't had the time to do it yet. But yeah, that's what my process looks like. But a lot of them, like I said, a lot of them I just look at immediately and I see, oh, it's a $500 fee. I just archive the email and never look at it again.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So, Katie, do you collect data? I mean, I know you said start, middle, end, but do you collect data post-proposal? Like if somebody makes an edit during a proposal, do you catch that too?
Yeah, so our whole team does that. So we are constantly doing, most of the time we don't do a lot of prime proposals. We do mostly sub-qualifications, but they do obviously have, the technical team will have edits during that. And as we get edits, each of us has a process. I think actually, Stacy, you gave me this tip and you called it a proposal rewind or something along those lines. And we sit down, we schedule it out. So once it's done, once we've submitted the materials to the client, we give ourselves a half an hour to an hour just to go through all the edits that we got and make them in CoSential. And that system so far works really well for our team.
Fantastic. Well, any other questions or comments or tricks that you guys are using that you want to share about data collection? It usually comes up that you bribe people with food, like come and have lunch and give me your data, or here's a brownie or something, but I think those days are over as far as
I know, before we even got to try it, I was thinking of something like that. I was like, oh, we should do like a March Madness themed or something, like some type of competition. We have a very competitive office. But before I was able to even like get anything like that started, you know, everything just went away. We all got imprisoned in our homes.
Yes. Life changed for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you, Katie. I appreciate your time and your preparation of sharing your process, and really enjoyed learning about that and all the tips and tricks that you shared.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Next month, August 13th, Emmy Burback out of Arizona / Mexico. She divides her time between the two. Well, I guess she's locked in Mexico now, so for her, she's on the beach. Emmy will be presenting, and she always has a wealth of knowledge, so check that out if you haven't registered for that one as well. And then in September, Brandy Wilkins with Layton will be presenting, so definitely make sure you register for those. After September, I don't have any guest speakers booked yet, so if you would like to be a guest speaker, please let me know. If you have any sort of innovations, insights, things that you want to share with the group, I would love to highlight you and feature that. So just reach out and we can get you on the schedule. I appreciate your time, and I know everybody's kind of webinared out, so it's even more appreciated now that you jumped on, and thank you for those who shared your screen or shared your video, and I will see you next month. Talk to you all later.
Thank you.